There is what I call a silent pandemic that is happening in the data centers across the United States. My home state of Kansas, I love it. I was born here. I'll be a Kansan more than likely till the day I die. But one of the things that I wish the state of Kansas would do would be to modernize their legacy systems that are running on COBOL. Especially during COVID-19, one of the things that many of my fellow Kansans found out is if you wanted to file for unemployment insurance, you had to find a fax machine, which in 2024, that is no easy feat. And the systems that were actually processing the unemployment claims got clogged because they were running COBOL. And there's a risk that many of the organizations that we work with see when they use COBOL. It's very, very difficult to find anyone that is actually still living to be able to upgrade these systems, willing to work on them, but also the bill rate on these things is massive. There are some organizations that pay $1 million every single day for their peak usage. And granted, it's a very powerful system. Mainframes, where the API and the database are all together, that was a great design for a time before I was born. But now we have better ways of doing things. So if you're getting into mainframe modernization, the best way to think about it is everything that you're doing today on one system, everything tightly coupled, very difficult to be able to make changes to. It's hard to understand how the individual procedural statements form the gestalt. You need to be able to piece those pieces apart. You need to be able to have systems and tools where you can actually understand and rationalize and move changes in and out of production. Because if you're not doing that, you're really dealing with a ticking time bomb. And there's no silver bullet, either to mainframe modernization that we have seen. ChatGPT does have some interesting potential in tools like GitHub Copilot, where you can take sections of COBOL and actually transpile them over to a language like C# or Java. The problem that we've seen when people do that, it gets you about 80% of the way there, which is fine. The 20%, the hardest part to deal with, is the business rules, is the business logic, are all the little nuances for insurance, which CPT codes qualify. For other industries, there's always just these little pieces that end up being the hardest parts. And there's no one magic rule that you can use to be able to obviate all these. The only way to really do it effectively that we have seen in our experience is to have a developer go through, talk with a business analyst, talk with a QA, really understand what these business rules are doing, and decompose your data structure, your data storage from the systems that are actually processing them. This is a model that we have used again and again and again. It's helped businesses manage their risk because they can actually hire developers to maintain these systems because COBOL developers, they're in very short supply. And it allows them to use cloud native hardware to be able to reproduce what could only happen in these massive mainframe buildings. So if I were to give a recommendation to, a governor of a state that is looking to, figure out ways of improving the technology of their state, or an organization or a CEO that has these massive data centers with these massive IBM, sorry to call them out, processors on them, it's a really good way to manage your risk. It's a really good way to make sure that you stay in business for the long term by migrating and modernizing your legacy monolithic systems.